Rescue efforts continue in Haiti after the 7.2 magnitude earthquake that resulted in over 2,000 deaths so far. German Chancellor Angela Merkel visited Moscow for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In Afghanistan, thousands of people wait outside Kabul airport to try to flee the country as Taliban reportedly began a campaign of persecution against opponents. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your host, Gladys Quesada, and now we begin with the news. Rescue efforts continue in Haiti after the 7.2 magnitude earthquake that resulted in over 2,000 deaths so far. According to the government of Haiti, more than 12,000 people were injured during the earthquake, while hundreds of individuals remained missing. Severe rains brought by Tropical Storm Grace hampered rescue efforts and caused the flooding across the country. Several international organizations like the World Food Programme, the International Organization for Migration, and UNICEF sent humanitarian aid to the Caribbean nation, which includes food, blankets, medicine, safe water, and sanitation material. Following the recent earthquake in Haiti, Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed, along with the United Nations Development Programme Administration, Ashim Steiner, traveled to the country to commiserate and show their solidarity with and support to the people and government of Haiti. Both officials visit affected communities and meet with the members of the government, civil society, and the UN staff. Also, as part of relief efforts at the request of USAID, Puerto Rico National Guard citizen soldiers and helicopters were deployed to Haiti. The National Guard's aviation unit was also present in the Caribbean nation to assist in the rescue and medical transport of injured individuals and the aerial assessments of the area. Humanitarian organizations have sent life-saving assistance to communities in need, such as blankets, food kits, hygiene items, and safe drinking water. The government of Argentina presented a new extension of its complaint against the management of Mauricio Macri for aggravated smuggling of ammunition and repressive material to Bolivia in the context of the coup against former President Evo Morales in 2019. In the document presented to the justice investigators found an account of facts that reinforced that the former president of the nation directly ordered and organized the smuggling operation. Other information that reinforced the accusations against Macri were provided by public servants from the previous administration, such as the former head of the cabinet, Marcos Peña, and former foreign minister, Jorge Fauri. According to their statements, all participated in previous meetings that showed their central role in the organization of the operation. On Thursday, a radio journalist was shot dead in Mixter, Mexico, as the latest such murder in one of the world's deadliest countries for reporters. Jacinto Romero Flores, 60 years old, was killed in Ixtaxoquitlan in Veracruz state, where he worked for the Oriestero FM station, the region's public security department said. Flores received threats recently. Veracruz is a flashpoint in gun wars between Mexico's rival drug cartels, as well as one of the most dangerous parts of the country for media workers. At least 6 journalists have been murdered so far this year in Mexico, although it is unclear if all the killings were linked to their work, and over 100 have been killed since 2000. Earlier this month, a news anchor with a national television station was promised protection by the government, following threats in the name of one of the country's most notorious drug cartels.
We do not understand why this happened or who it was. What we are asking is justice and that the prosecution do its job, because to date we don't have any results for all the murders of journalists.
And now we address other topics. According to climate specialists of the Caribbean, Tropical Storm Grace left the Yucatan Peninsula and marched en route towards the Gulf of Mexico. The reports of the Global Atmosphere Watch inform that the event is moving to the Gulf of Mexico with sustained winds of 85 kilometers per hour and with a speed of 24 kilometers per hour. It is also expected to grow in intensity in the following 24 hours. Grace was in Yucatan for 8 hours, being Chiquin Sonot, the first city of that state to experience the winds and the rains. And according to the National Hurricane Center, Grace downgraded into a tropical storm after making landfall along the Yucatan Peninsula as a hurricane, but also is expected to strengthen back into a hurricane while back out to sea on Friday. On the peninsula, more than 300 people were evacuated from their homes in Quintana Roo state. The peninsula also faced widespread power failures, and flights to and from the international airport in Cancun were canceled overnight. As of early Friday morning, Grace was about 260 miles east of Tuxpan, Mexico, with maximum sustained winds of 70 miles per hour. And young people living in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan are among those at most at risk of the impacts of climate change. According to a new UNICEF report, the climate situation is threatening their health, education, and protection. The report ranked countries based on children's exposure to climate and environmental shocks, such as cyclones and heat waves, as well as their vulnerability to those shocks, based on their access to essential services. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and India are among 4 South Asian countries where children are at extremely high risk of the impacts of the climate crisis. Approximately 1 billion children live in countries classified as extremely high risk, including the 4 South Asian countries. And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back. German Chancellor Angela Merkel visited Moscow for talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday. The visit is likely to be the last in Merkel's capacity as Chancellor, as she is due to step down from politics following Germany's general elections in September. The talks came at a time of immense global strife, just days after the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, rising tensions in Ukraine, and the disputed Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Prior to meeting Putin, Merkel attended a ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Moscow, marking 80 years since Nazi troops invaded the Soviet Union. Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi met with his Turkish counterpart Mevlut Cavusoglu on Friday as part of his regional tour. The meeting agenda included, among other topics, regional security and response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The visit comes as a part of Motegi's regional tour, including visits to Egypt, Iran, Israel, Jordan, Palestine, and Qatar from August 15th to 24th. Prior to his visit, the Japanese official expressed that the peace and stability of the Middle East region are extremely important for the international community, including Japan. Malaysia's longest governing political party reclaimed the premiership lost in the 2018 election defeat after the country's King Sultan Abdullah Shah on Friday named Ismail Sabri Yaakob as the country's new leader. Ismail was the deputy prime minister under the government of Muhyiddin Yassin, who resigned Monday after less than 18th month in office as fighting in his coalition cost him majority support. Ismail's appointment brought back the rule of the United Malaysians Organization, which had led the nation since independence from Britain in 1957, but was ousted in 2018 elections over a multi-billionaire dollar financial scandal. Sultan Abdullah said in a statement that he hopes Ismail's designation as Prime Minister will bring an end to the country's political turmoil. China on Friday passed a series of new laws at the closing meeting of the 30th session of the Standing Committee of the 13th National People's Congress. After rounds of reviews, the National People's Congress adopted the new laws, including the ones on personal information protection, anti-corruption supervisors, doctors, and legal assistants. The law on the protection of personal information will take effect on November 1st this year, while the laws on legal assistance and the anti-corruption supervisors will take effect on January 1st, 2022. A law amendment was also passed, allowing each couple to have 3 children and specifies support measures for the new policy. Astronauts in China's space station core module Tianhe performed their second extravehicular activities on Friday. This time, the astronauts helped the developing construction of the space station by installing extended pump sets. The 3 members of the crew have been in orbit for 2 months now. They first arrived in the Shenzhou 12 spaceship and entered Tianhe on mid-June. The pump sets they installed are modular pieces of the system that controls temperature in the space station. Their success in the mission now grants it possible for fellow nationals to inhabit the station and work within in the nearby future with ideal thermal conditions from them and the equipment they use.
Flows in it is just like blood in the human body. There are many fluid pipes that run through the whole space station, just as the heart functions as the engine that pumps the blood through vessels. It is the circulating pumps that drive the fluid to flow through the pipes. The extended pump set is like the spare tire of the car. If malfunction occurs, we can switch it over at any time to ensure that the station continues to operate.
Welcome back. In Vietnam, authorities of Ho Chi Minh City announced the doubling of control measures destined to limit the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the absolute prohibition to residents of leaving their homes. Due to the virus persistence in the city in spite of confinement since early July, authorities have resorted to asking the citizens to stay where they are beginning August 23. The horizonting of measures comes with the deployment of 10,000 soldiers in the city and the airport. Ho Chi Minh is the epicenter of a COVID-19 outburst that Vietnam sustained since late April, with short over 164,000 infections, over half of the whole country's 308,000. In Australia, lockdown measures in several cities extend their deadlines as the number of COVID-19 cases increases. In Sydney, despite 2 months of lockdown, the Premier of New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian, announced the decision to maintain the initiative due to the complexity of dealing with the Delta variant.
So from Monday at midnight, the Greater Sydney lockdown will extend until the end of September. So the Greater Sydney lockdown will be extended until the end of September, but I also want to state that the Central Coast and Shell Harbour will be defined as regional. So Greater Sydney includes all those areas that are currently in lockdown in Greater Sydney, but for the Central Coast and Shell Harbour regional. As we announced yesterday, for rural and regional communities, the lockdown is going until at least August 28.
The New Zealand Ministry of Health reported 11 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of community cases linked to the Auckland outbreak to 31, ending a 6-month run of no community cases in the country.
Reported in the Ministry of Health's 1 p.m. media release, there are 11 new cases of COVID-19 in the community to report today. This brings the total number of community cases associated with our Auckland outbreak to 31. Yesterday, testing centres in Auckland had their busiest day ever by a long way. around 24,000 community swabs were taken across Auckland, with 16,000 of those taken at community testing centres and around 8,000 at general practice and urgent care clinics. That was a 50% increase on the previous busiest day.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. In Afghanistan, thousands of people wait outside Kabul airport to try to flee the country, as Taliban reportedly began a campaign of persecution against opponents. While thousands of Afghans are living moments of uncertainty waiting to leave the country, evacuation flights continue. Some 18,000 people have been evacuated since Sunday. At the same time, the Taliban are going house to house to take reprisals against opponents and their families, according to a United Nations intelligence document. In this line, European media affirmed that the members of the self-styled Islamic Emirate make blacklists with all the Afghans that in their time collaborated with Western countries. On the other hand, according to Reuters, U.S. officials claim that the Taliban have taken possession of 2,000 U.S.-made armored vehicles, as well as between 30 and 40 aircraft and an uncountable number of weapons. In an interview with China's state CGTN television, Afghan Taliban spokesperson Suhail Shaheen said China could contribute to the development of Afghanistan in the future. The Taliban spokesperson made these remarks in his first interaction with the Chinese media after the Taliban took control over Kabul earlier this week. The Taliban official stated that China has a huge economy and capacity, and it can play a very big role in the rebuilding, rehabilitation, reconstruction of Afghanistan. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that Beijing maintains contact and communication with the Afghan Taliban and other parties on the basis of full respect for the sovereignty of Afghanistan and the will of all parties.
Which is continuing, it is considering all Afghans. All Afghans are considered, but then they will select some personalities which is suitable to be included in the future government. So that is the general framework. So when they are selected, they will be announced to all. Right now, it is a vacuum of power. There is no time for any kind of election. There is no constitution. A new constitution will be drafted and then approved. So this needs a lot of work, but that work will be done later. But right now, there is a need to have an Afghan inclusive government. So, of course, through talks with these personalities and politicians and deliberation among our top leadership and among ourselves, those persons will be selected.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said an Ethiopian-led political dialogue was needed to bring an end to the conflict in the country's northern Tigray region, adding it was time for all parties to recognize that there is no military solution.
Ethiopian people have suffered too much. Humanitarian conditions are hellish. Millions of people are in need. Infrastructure has been destroyed. And we have heard first-hand accounts of women who have been subjected to unspeakable violence. And the spread of the conflict has ensnared even more people in its horror. To give peace a chance, I'm making an appeal for action on 3 fronts. First, I call on all parties to immediately cease hostilities. Second, unrestricted humanitarian access everywhere must be guaranteed, together with the re-establishment of public services in all affected areas. And third, conditions must be created to allow for the start of an Ethiopian-led political dialogue to find a solution for the crisis.
And the Kenyan Court of Appeals is to rule either in favor or against the president's request to change the constitution. With somewhat short of a year left in his mandate, President Uhuru Kenyatta slides the glare of the matter in the organizational reforms, which by expanding the executive and parliament could help the key actors, both in dominance and opposition sides. Kenyatta favored his initiative, explaining it will help end violence during election times, and recalled the 2007 turnouts when over 1,100 people died in riots and in civilian street confrontations.
I will now read the introductory part of my judgment, after which from there, and we follow in the order in which we introduced ourselves earlier. That the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is a transformative one has never been at all.
On Thursday, Burkina Faso authorities revealed that the death toll resulting from a jihadist attack in the Sahel region rose to 59 civilian fatalities. A total of 52 men and 7 women were killed in the jihadist assault on a convoy of military vehicles and civilians traveling between the towns of Gorgari and Erbinda, according to a statement issued on Thursday night by the Burkinabe Ministry of Communication and the Parliamentary Relations. The total number of victims of the attack, including military and civilians, but excluding the terrorists, amounts to 80. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.